So now we move to the next session of the day. Our next speaker is Dr. Yogesh Niturkar. So Dr. Yogesh has 18 years of homeopathic practice, to his credit. He is into 15 years into Department of Organ and Medicine in his teaching experience, so may too. And then he has authored over 90 articles. He is editor for Textbook of Practice of Medicine with Homeopathic Therapeutics. He has reviewed 10 homeopathic books with BJ Publishers, and he is definitely our team member on our editorial board. And he is actually our go-to person nowadays for even a technological glitch if we have. He has his core interest in homeopathic academics and research. He has been recipient of the award for the most popular teacher, which is not surprising, in 2017 from Homeopathic Doctors Association of Maharashtra. He is a resource person for the issues of disabled Divyangan as a secretary with DDRC Latur, and he is a coordinator for State Nodal Agency Center Maharashtra. Over to you, Dr. Yogesh, for the next session.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I am highly privileged to present my experience in front of the galaxy of senior practitioners as well as the budding homeopaths. With due respect to all the attendants, homeopathic management of one-sided diseases as propounded by Hahnemann in his aphorism number 172 to 184, and the mental diseases that is given under 210 to 230th aphorism. Before beginning the presentation, I would like to dedicate my experience to the masters of homeopathy, because of whom I am able to learn day by day. We are going to have a journey as homeopathy is moving around individualization, the concept of individualization, where we are trying to find out symptoms, how they evolve after evolution, how they can be evaluated so that our reach towards simillimum can be done with appropriate guidelines that are given by various stalwarts of homeopathy fraternity. So the objectives of this presentation are to learn homeopathic approach in one-sided diseases with few mental symptoms arising from prolonged emotional causes, to demonstrate the scope of subjective and objective psychiatric assessment scales and the probability factor to aid into standardized homeopathic practice and research. And the third one is learning how to bring precision in homeopathic prescribing for standardization of the practitioner and the profession. I think we will cover up all these three aspects so that we will be able to understand one-sided diseases with few mental symptoms, then what kind of assessment parameters are there, so that the probability factor about homeopathic medicine, application of homeopathic medicine, and the clinical outcome can be have a causally attributing factor that yes, it is because of the homeopathic medicine. So we need to bring precision in homeopathic prescribing so that we can have a standardized practice, standardized practitioner, and it will benefit to the profession itself. So the operational area that I had tried to cover up means it is not that we are directly coming up, we are taking a case and we are directly prescribing a remedy and the result is there. There are lots of things that are in between that we apply knowingly and unknowingly. It is part of our standardized homeopathic practice and we need to emphasize all these things. So different aphorisms that I'm going to cover, like aphorism 1 to 6, then 72 to 82, 83 to 104, and the one-sided diseases like 172 to 184, and the mental diseases for 210 to 230. So all of us are aware that what kind of a content of these aphorisms are, but we should focus upon another part, that what is the requirement to fulfill this need of these aphorisms so that we can build up a precise homeopathic practice, or we can go towards the scientificity of homeopathy. So we need clarity, we need knowledge, we should be attentive, we should have sound senses, we should have freedom from prejudices. We should be able to identify the nature and expression of the disease itself. in a way that we can have that skill, that art of investigation, so that we can trace the true picture of disease. Then we need to have that identification of principal symptoms. We should be able to identify these principal symptoms. And then as per the case, demands of case, there are different diagnostic criteria, there are different modalities that we can, therapeutic modalities are there, and there are different parameters to assess the outcome, that is to say the clinical outcome of that particular patient. So as a homeopathic fraternity or as a homeopathic learner or practitioner or teacher, we should emphasize on standardization of homeopathic aspects so that we can work in tune with the modern medicine. It is a challenge, but I think it is easy challenge. Everyone can do, because all of us are very good practitioners and we can do. And most of you might have been doing all these things. I'm just trying to focus on the important aspects that one needs to concentrate upon, so that the validation of homeopathic medicines and the clinical outcome can be in tune with that. So just for a food for thought before we continue our presentation, interesting topic, that is one-sided diseases with mental aspect. Perceptions vary from person to person. This is one of the best thing that I found on internet while searching for some material related to this case. So I felt that I should present it. So perceptions vary from person to person. Different people perceive different things about the same situation. But more than that, we assign different meanings to what we perceive, and the meanings might change for a certain person. One might change one's perspective, simply make simply make things mean something else. So I call it a frog and you call it a horse. So the image appears as if a horse, but actually it is a frog. So it is all about perception, that in what way we are perceiving the image of the disease, image of the patient. So one might change one's perspective or simply make things mean something else. So that is what we have to think from that point of view. Let us begin our case. This is a case of a 49 years old Mrs. MKT. She is an English teacher in ZP school. Her husband, 52 years old, civil engineer in government sector. Her daughter is in BDS first year. Son is in 12th standard, having PCM group. It is a nuclear family, and the socio-economic status is upper middle class. She came with complaints of anxiety, lack of confidence, difficulty in concentrating, and restlessness. And all these happened to begin after husband's angioplasty, which was 2 months back. But on the other part, when we try to evolve or we try to understand the evolution of this whole process or the phenomena, she is suffering from these complaints since 1 year. And after angioplasty of husband, the complaints have increased with increased frequency, duration is continuous, and she feels that the pace is gradually increasing. So I inquired further about the past history and family history, which is nothing significant. I inquired about any history about psychiatric illness. It is also not there. Physical generals, I would elicit this much of information only because this was available. Apart from this, everything was okay. She is having lean built up, fair complexion. Her thermal status is hot. Her OBGYN history uneventful, and rest of the data is nothing significant. As we are dealing with few complaints, diseases that are having few complaints. So obviously we got few complaints in this case also. I tried to investigate the life space, in which I found childhood, teenage, adult, and married life, everything is uneventful. Maternal and in-laws families, well-to-do and respectful position in the community as well as in the relatives. There is no stress as such. Hobbies, she is only interested in household work and studies. Shares good interpersonal relationship with children, in-laws, relatives, friends, neighbors, and school staff. Now all is well. Everything is well in this case. So as a physician, we are always in search of abnormality at mind and body. And we are not comfortable when we don't get some kind of data, and we are having a fear that we may lose this case because we are not having so much of details. Or every time we should think of Baretta, calcarea, prescription or graphitis like prescription when we are not having any mental characteristic symptoms, or we should go for an intercurrent medicine when we are not getting details. So what can be done? All is well, good IPR, no stress, mental journals, physical journals, nothing significant. Only stressor is available, husband's illness. And there are covert expressions which are not fully developed. So whether we should go on totality of building, totality of symptoms with available data, that needs to be understood. So if we do in that way, what we get, what is the usual pattern? We are taking all the 4 symptoms: anxiety, future about, confidence, want of self, concentration difficult, restlessness, nervousness. So in ABCD, any remedy can come up. Then the next step would be like remedy property filter, like application of thermal, whether it is acute, chronic, intercurrent, then the miasm and the kingdom. So is that so easy? Sometimes it may be, sometimes it may not be. So it is a question of probability. So how to trace symptoms and how to unlock these symptoms, that again becomes a challenge. So what we are able to see in this case is anxiety at surface level, and we are not having the core of the case. So in front of us is the iceberg phenomena type of thing, where we are having surface expression of anxiety and the core of the case is underlying. We are not able to find out what the problem is and in what way the solution to that problem can be there. So what is the thing? Observation and recording. If you go back to Hahnemann or all the stalwarts, they emphasize upon observation and recording of the observations. And I am very much fortunate to be in a school of thought where observation is given prime importance. And to name it, Dr. M.L. Dhawale Memorial Homeopathic Institute, that built up this faculty of observation, how to observe. So mental state examination and assessment by using valid scales. And the third thing is that investigation of IPR, that is interpersonal relationship with husband. So let's see what we can get through it. So the mental state examination. So this is the clinician rated examination finding, where the clinician has observed under 9 items: appearance, behavior, speech, mode, mood, perception, thought form, thought content, cognition, and insight. So I will just highlight on the key points. Behavior, I observed that she was restless, she was having mild anxiety, and occasionally she was avoiding eye contact. There were no distractions, but still she was having some sort of avoidance of eye contact. Her speech was medium to fast rate, angry when asked about husband, and depressed on inquiry about interpersonal relationship with husband. So this was the mood. Thought form, emotional and associated with the facts. There were fixed ideas. And the good thing was her perception was good and the insight was moderate but predominated by emotions. So what can be done now? So that the insight can be explored, she should be she should have insight, and we can help her to come out of this situation. So the therapeutic management at that point automatically came into mind that she will need 2 types of remedial measures. One is the remedial measure and another will be the non-remedial measure. That will come across the slides. So the next thing that I did was the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale. This is one of the far used anxiety rating scale in the psychiatric field, where we can assess anxiety level, whether it is only affecting the psyche and soma, means it is affecting psyche and soma, or only single individual parts are affected. So it is a clinician rated. It takes hardly 10 to 15 minutes of time. Purpose is to assess the severity of symptoms of anxiety, and scale it is built up in such a way that 14 items are covered, having 56 marks, and the coverage is of both psychic and somatic complaints, so that we can identify the psychosomatic aspect of that patient. So after that, I was able to find out that there is a predominance of psychotic features, or the psychic features are there, and somatic features are not there. So 18 marks, she scored 18 out of 56. We will see the importance of that also in terms of when we are making a category of that anxiety. So the 18 score indicates mild to moderate anxiety severity. If we are using such kind of scales, the probability of failure to make a judgment, clinical judgment, will be less. Another thing that we can help, it will help in assessment of the patient after follow-up, whether the remedy has acted, whether what kind of therapeutic measures have acted, we will be able to evaluate that. So she scored 18. Now the next thing that I did, that I gave her 2 forms, as she was an English teacher and I felt that she can do it. So I just tried to work on that. So I gave her a perceived stress scale. This is another scale where we can identify what kind of stress she had perceived and what is its rating. So we can find out feelings and thoughts during the last month. What kind of thoughts she had, what kind of feelings she had. So rating is self-rated. The patient has to do this. Hardly it takes 10 minutes. 10 scales are there, means the items are 10 over 40 marks, and coverage, feelings and thoughts during last month. So result score is 25. Somehow the marking has gone up. It is moderate stress. Okay. So it happened that she is having moderate stress. The score is 25. Okay. Sorry for the mistake. Somehow it has moved. Maybe at the time of animation. So moderate stress was there, as the score was 25. Now the next thing, I gave her another inventory, that is Beck anxiety inventory, and that scored again 13. The score was 13. So it is self-rated. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. Purpose is to self-report measure of anxiety, that how much you are affected and what kind of symptoms are there during the past month and today itself. What kind of symptoms you can feel, whether numbness, tingling, feeling hot, unable to relax, etc., etc. So these 4 scales were used in terms of assessment. Means one is mental state examination and third 3 are the scales: Hamilton anxiety rating scale, and the perceived stress scale, and third one, the fourth one, the Beck anxiety inventory. So I got entry points through these scales. She was able to reflect, as she was not opening up, she was not narrating, she was not aware of the complaints itself. So this helped me to identify that she is having so many complaints: upset, nervous, stressed, less confident, can't cope up, things are out of control, terrified, afraid. She is fear of losing control, unable to relax, fear of worst happening, anticipation of the worst, trembling, feelings of restlessness, loss of interest, trembling, then the feelings of weakness. So I started with these points and tried to explore more appropriately in terms of understanding the interpersonal relationship and exploration of their nature of relationship. So she shared that she is having good interpersonal relationship with husband. Her sexual life is also okay. Patient is dependent on husband, and husband is decision maker in the family. Though she is also earning, both of them are having equal earning or the equal contribution in the making of that family, but she is dependent. Okay. And it is quite obvious that what we had seen from earlier, that she is mild as well as she is having anxiety, etc. So the reason for her anxiety, nervousness and stress was identified. She narrated that husband is having chronic alcoholism. He is drinking since 1 year. And 2 months back, she had sudden chest pain, which was diagnosed as moderate myocardial infarction. And at that time, angioplasty was done. And that had increased my anxiety, nervousness and stress. And the another concern that she is having, that her husband will not follow ancillary measures. Once he joins office, he will drink and he may die if he doesn't listen to me. I don't want to lose him. And that stimulated, that acted as a stressor in terms of having a primary emotion, or in terms of having emotion of fear of worst happening, anticipation of the worst, afraid, terrified, and she lacks confidence in self and others. So all these things are happening to her, and what impact it is having in terms of her work life, social life, family life, that we will see here. She told that she lived a dignified family and social life. Earlier also we had seen that she shares a good interpersonal relationship with all aspects of an individual, environmental aspects. Now due to husband's addiction, she is less interactive and asocialized. So socialization has decreased. All will blame. What is the concern now? All will me for inability to control husband. So I am not able to cope up with these things. So that is why I have become reserved. I think the dynamics of this individual, the core of the individual, we are able to get it out of the emotions and the situation that has been created. So again, we should follow standardized way of diagnosis also. It is not that the forms have filled up and we are diagnosing on the basis of that scales. Another important thing is that diagnosis, psychiatric diagnosis should be made on the criteria that has been defined. So generalized anxiety disorder was diagnosed in terms of that she is having complaints more than 6 months. The individual finds too difficult to control the worry. Then the anxiety and worry are associated with restlessness, difficulty in concentrating, and irritability is also seen. In earlier, if you see, you go back to the scale, at that point she has mentioned about that irritability. Somatic aspect is not there. In D, impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning is there. The disturbance is not attributed to the physiological effects of any substance, and F, it is not due to the any sort of medical disorder. So on that basis, we made a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. Now let's come across to the understanding of problem, and we have structuralized that. So husband's illness is there and addiction. Now this addiction is acting as a part on the disapproval from the family, society, that her husband is drinking and she is not able to control him. So what kind of emotions are there? There is a threat, there is fear. What kind of fear? Fear of misfortune is there. Anxiety about future is there, the primary emotion. The pattern of response we are able to see in terms of primary emotion as anxiety about future. What will happen? And there is a conflict between two negative aspects. One is husband's illness and another one is his addiction. And the patient is trying to come out of that negativity, both of the things, illness as well as the consequences of drinking on the illness and the resultant. So how to cope up from this situation? So there is internal conflict that is going on with this person. Another thing is that there is shift of awareness from husband to environment. The concern is more that what others will talk about, that I am not able to control husband. I have lived a dignified life and I am not in a position to control that husband's impact. So in what way the shift has occurred? See how evolution of symptoms, how concern about the complaints are arising from time to time. And that will help us in terms of understanding when we are able to structuralize the whole problem itself. So out of that awareness, that what people will say, her behavior, we are able to see that want of self-confidence, self-depreciation can be there. The appropriate word that I was looking out was self-depreciation, that my value will be less. And that forced her to become reserved. And automatically the intellect was also affected because of the emotional turmoil that was going on. So concentration was difficulty in concentration. And if some misfortune happens, unfortunately, she had lived, earlier we had seen that she had lived a dependent life. Husband takes care of all of the sorts of things and she feels comfortable in taking a lead. Husband is taking lead in the family core as well as the social core in terms of handling various issues. So now the dependency will turn into independency. She will become independent. Now there are multiple issues. Daughter's marriage is there, son's education is there. And what if some misfortune occurs? So definitely it has brought insecurity in her. And we are able to find out that this is a sensitive lady. which acts as a sensitivity is acting as a maintaining factor, and all means we are trying to find out the defense mechanism under this, that withdrawal from the society, escapism we are able to see, and the whole causative factor behind this is emotional, that is out of care, concern, well-being towards the husband. So all this is acting, and we are able to see functioning. We are able to see the functioning which is normal at physiological level. See the polarity. We are able to find out that the physiology is normal, adaptation is moderate, efficiency is decreased at personal, familial, work, and social level. All these are interpretations that we are deriving from the data that is available to us through assessments, through interrogation, whatever we are doing in terms of the interrogation between patient and the doctor, the patient, doctor-patient interrogation. So we are able to find out that there is stress-induced psychiatric disorder, which we have diagnosed as generalized anxiety disorder. And as Hahnemann has said, that the emotional responses that we are getting, and in the one-sided diseases that are having prolonged emotional causes, SORA is in the background. And here also we are able to see that the functional disturbance is there. So reported result, let's see what comes in front of us. So first, usually I use both softwares. So in complete repertory, I found that anacardium, bryonia, iodum. I took only 3 symptoms: anxiety future about, fear misfortune of, confidence want of self. So about that, I got anacardium, bryonia, iodum, pulsatilla, natrum, mur as the 5 remedies in front of me. So, but the internal thirst was not accepting that why I should give anacardium, why not bryonia, why not iodum. So I was looking for that self-depreciation, which is given in radar synthesis repertory. So again, I am able to see 5 remedies: Nux vomica, calcarea, natrum carb, soranum, and anacardium, which is at 5th level. One repertory says that anacardium stands first. Another repertory says that anacardium stands 5th in the totality. So what to be done now? So again, Jagus sir has also mentioned that repertory is a way where we are coming across multiple remedies, but the final decision is based upon the materia medica. So let's see what can be done. In chronic diseases, just a moment. I had skipped one slide. So what was done? Materia medica differentiation was done. What I did, I tried to understand the relationship of anacardium first. So these are the similars. Whatever remedies came up, and what are the similarity with the anacardium, I choose that remedy. So these are the 5 remedies that are having from both the from both the repertory sheets: bryonia, calcarea, iodum, nux vomica, and pulsatilla. These are the 5 remedies that are having similarity, and that's why we are able to see in repertory sheet also that they are sharing similarity in totality as well as similarity in the evolution of symptoms also. So let's see. I took another way. I selected kingdom and differentiated plant kingdom and mineral kingdom. So the filtration was done. And then the differentiation based upon causation. I was more concerned about the cause, that the emotional attachment towards husband, the care that was there. So differentiation was done on the basis of the causation only. CM Boger is the best one to refer. Anacardium shows emotions care. If we refer synoptic key, under anacardium, this beautiful thing is given, that emotions care. Bryonia, vexation, suppressions are there. Nux vomica, mental exertion, fatigue, anger, vexation is seen, and pulsatilla, we are able to see suppressions. So I am not going to go into the details of other aspects of the remedy. I am concentrating on the one aspect because of which I had prescribed anacardium. So let's go back to the materia medica, what anacardium says, and I am going to the source books. What the chronic diseases says, Hahnemann has mentioned in chronic diseases, the findings of his proving. The first symptom is sadness. And if you will be surprised that the second symptom, because many times we are concentrating upon anacardium about the two spirits are there, or two devil spirits are guiding. One is good and one is good and another one is bad spirit. The desire to curse, swear, etc., etc. We are concentrating on that. So if we see the evolution, why I'm saying evolution and why I've selected this particular book, source book, so that we can understand whether we can restrict the further clinico-psychological pathology with our early intervention of similimum homeopathic medicine. So second symptom was identified, anguish and apprehension as of imminent misfortune. See, misfortune, anxiety and apprehension in the evening after cheerfulness during the day. This was the third symptom. And when we are concentrating upon the seventh symptom, anxious apprehension and deep thoughts on meditating over his present and his future fate. I think that is the true picture that we had seen in the case also, that she is worried about all these aspects. She is meditating over her present as well as the future fate, and that is the concern that has led into the formation of GAD. Now the eighth symptom comes up in line. The future seems to him very dangerous, as if nothing were imminent but misfortune and danger. Distrust in his own power and despondency. There is distrust. She is capable. She can do that, because in assessment also we are able to find out that the insight is good. She is having moderate level of insight. Only thing is the emotions are predominated because of certain stress that has been precipitated because of the husband's illness and the ongoing alcoholism of the husband. He is at odds with whole world and has so little confidence in himself that he despairs of being able to accomplish what is demanded of him. He is not able to accomplish what are the demands on the part of that individual. So this is very beautiful explanation that Hahnemann had given through the proving that we had seen. And again, the next thing was the primary concern, care. Emotions, care. And in repertory, when we get a repertory result, on clicking on the particular remedy, we get materia medica of that remedy. So I had done this. After clicking that, lack of self-confidence, inferior feeling, internal conflict, all these things are again in our patient. And there are two types. At mind level, we are able to see two types. One is cruel and another one is helpless, hopeless, pleading, needy. If you try to understand the first part, where the life space investigation doesn't have anything, so happy-go-lucky life is there. Anyone can desire to have such kind of life where there are no threats. But the fate doesn't, we are not aware of our fate, that what will come in front of us. Okay, so we find this lady as helpless, needy lady, which needs help. She is having great insecurity and lack of self-confidence. Okay, another important thing, feels inferior, often seems very mild during consultation. Go back to the mental state examination. She appeared mild during consultation, and same observation is there. Refuses to admit these feelings, tries to prove himself, creating an internal conflict. Again, we are able to identify that the conflict is going on within this lady, and on that basis, anacardium was prescribed. I will go through the planning and programming of homeopathic treatment, because this is a lengthy process that one has to undertake in terms of assurance of results and logic behind why the result has been produced. So this is ongoing process. So the stage of disease, functional, it is chronic, one-sided mental disease that is arising from prolonged emotional causes. Psychosomatic, psora is in the background, dominant miasm, sensitivity and susceptibility is moderate, suppressions if any, emotional query. Moderate dose has been selected because of the sensitivity and susceptibility. Repetition, infrequently, correspondence is total. General vitality we can identify is good, and prognosis is favorable. So the management is of two types. One is remedial and another one is non-remedial. Anacardium Oriental 201 packet HS was prescribed, and the non-remedial measures were of psychotherapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and family therapy was given. First, we will see what kind of cognitive behavioral therapy was advised. Insight about negative perception, that change won't take. Desensitization, that compulsive thinking about misfortune, and modification in behavior and willingness to face challenges of life. These were the three important things that were given, that were advised during the psychotherapy. Now, before homeopathic intervention, let's try to recollect what we had gone through so that we can understand the efficiency of homeopathic medicines. Perceived stress scale, rated by self, score was 25 out of 40. Beck inventory, the figure, one more thing. So it is 56. Sorry for 2 to 3 corrections, because while making these slides, many times my children hit the keyboard and many times it happens. And recently I am observing these things. So mild anxiety is there. Then mental state examination, mild to moderate. Hamilton anxiety scale also says mild to moderate anxiety is there. So therapeutic plan was decided of administration of remedy with moderate potency and infrequent repetition. Anti-miasmatic treatment will be given, SOS, on follow-up assessment. CBT and family therapy, meditation, exercise, diet as per the choice, weekly follow-up, and test review after 1 month. So this was the whole thing which was planned. Now the next thing comes is remedy response evaluation. Follow-up analysis has to be done. So what kind of subjective distress is there? Generals, new symptom, interpretation at susceptibility, reaction, sensitivity, what kind of clinical thinking we are having, what is the disease direction that is there, what kind of action, expectations, reasons for any deviations, all these things should be covered up in our remedy response evaluation, that is the follow-up. Now I am doing these things since I had joined my post-graduation at Dr. M.L. Dole Memorial Homeopathic Institute, where Vishwala Madam also had taught lots of things, and it has become a part of practice. And another important thing, that when I am teaching to UG and PG students, again, the concern, again, the concentration is on recording everything in proper way so that we can build up. Again, my interest in research, again, my interest in academics, again, my interest in writing articles and presenting at various platforms. So all these things had made me that whenever a new case comes, I feel that I should be prepared in such a way that I am going to write it, I'm going to present it, I am going to prove the scientificity of homeopathy. So that is the concern. And it is not for anything else. So the follow-up criteria, as I had mentioned, follow-up assessment. So this is the follow-up. Baseline, case definition and processing was done. Advice was given that next time you should come with your husband. And anacardium 201 packet was given with an expectation that patient should be better within 1 to 2 months. And it is possible because of insight, because of the therapy that we had given, because of the acceptance of that lady. Okay. So it is a combined role, psychotherapy as well as the medicinal part. In first follow-up, it was seen that the anxiety has reduced 1 mark, concentration has improved, restlessness is absent, irritability is absent, and rest of the whatever list of symptoms we had, which we had identified through the scales, it remained as it is. At that time, case definition and family counseling of husband was, means along with husband, family counseling was done. Case definition of husband was done. He was prescribed lycopodium 201 packet HS. There were no new symptoms. Susceptibility reaction remained same throughout the follow-up. Clinical thinking was same throughout the follow-up. The prescription was anacardium again for for again 2 weeks. I gave 2 weeks medicine as I felt that she is improving. Husband following next follow-up, husband was following all ancillary measures, but still patient is having fear of misfortune, untimely death of husband, and intensity of anxiety has reduced. Occasionally feels that if things are out of her control, her socialization was status quo, interaction with husband had improved, but it was as it is with the society because of the underlying fear, underlying threat that was still going on. So at this time, anacardium 203 packets were given for 2 weeks, and I had decided that if she comes with standstill, I will go for anti-miasmatic remedy in next follow-up. Now, expectation was that restoration in the important areas of functioning, family, work, and social, and reasons for deviation from one packet to 3 packet was registration of remedy at emotional level, but impairment at other areas of social quotient. Okay. So in next follow-up, husband has taken VRS. Most of the things are settled. Patient is better. All complaints are gone. This is subjective feeling. So what I did, assessment by psychiatric scales. Full-time ambulation in the absence of exciting factors. And we are able to see that I had given SL and I had advised her to report SOS. In next follow-up, after few months, her son was having some acute complaint and patient was not on any treatment. Husband was on treatment. Eventually, after multiple sessions of counseling, he quitted alcohol with homeopathic medicines also played a very important role in that. And now after homeopathic intervention, what has happened? The score has come down to 0. Interpretation, no stress, no anxiety, normal. Administration of SL for 1 month, meditation, exercise, diet as per the choice, and follow-up SOS. So this was the thing. Now the most important part is that whether it is by chance or whether there is a probability that homeopathic medicine and the clinical outcome are having a causal attribution. So here we found that the score was of 9, which clearly shows that causal attribution. This is monarch modified. This is monarch called as modified Naranjo criteria for homeopathy. Okay, so we are able to find out that this is a part of research where we can find out that causal attribution between the homeopathic intervention and the clinical outcome, because here we can concentrate upon the specific elements of homeopathic treatment or homeopathic cure enables us to increase that there is certainty of cure, which is caused, or the improvement that has caused is because of the homeopathic medicine. So we can answer these questions. Was there an improvement in the main symptom or condition for which the homeopathic medicine was prescribed? Yes. Did the clinical improvement occur within the plausible time frame relative to the medicine intake? Yes. Was there an initial aggravation? No. Whether the overall improvement as suggested, validated, see under columns, under it has been mentioned, suggest using validated scales. So we had used these scales. Mention about changes in physical, emotional, and behavioral elements. Yes, these are there. So as there were no old symptoms, there is no question whether the alternative causes that having a high probability, that was also not there. The health improvement confirmed by any objective evidence. Yes, clinical examination, scales were used, and did repeat dosing if conducted create similar clinical improvement. Yes. So all these things are there. So we can say that yes, it has acted. There is a evidence for that. So what can be concluded from this study? Accurate case taking, recording, and analysis is necessary besides other types of evidence to convince about the specific sphere of action of homeopathic medicines. Therefore, the documented case records must fulfill criteria of indications of causal relationship between medicine and improvement, its significance in daily practice, as well as its agreement with similar cases. The impact of standardized case reports is useful if the document guides towards a clear algorithm. What algorithm we are talking about? What information led to build the totality of symptoms? So I had taken only 3 symptoms which are of more concern. Rest of the things were considered while we were differentiating with Matramedica amongst the other remedies. So what led us to come to the totality of symptoms? The repertorial approach, final remedial selection. If the results are reproducible, and last, it gives valid information for extension of knowledge levels. In this context, we need to strengthen the reporting of case records with the help of tools like case care, monarch, and record to attribute the likelihood of causal relationship that are in tune with the homeopathic principles. In research, all these things are very essential if we are trying to understand the efficacy of homeopathy, because I personally feel that validation of homeopathic medicines is about validating effectiveness in individual cases. And homeopathic practitioners should base their expectation, means we expect that medicine will work on the experience that specific symptoms are cured, So we should have the validation of that. We should record in a manner so that we can prove the scientificity of homeopathy, which is challenged again and again. Now, another thing that I would like to focus upon the future directions. I referred for these things for preparation of our retrospective study, that what led to the result. And I found that there are certain chemical components, there are certain factors that are present in the plant itself in the nut of the Anacardium oriental, marking nut that is commonly said, presence of anacardic acids, bioflavonoids, phenolic compounds, bilonols, minerals, vitamins, and amino acids. We all know that what minerals, vitamins, and amino acids do in our body. The important thing that we should concentrate upon, that anacardic acid is anxiolytic. So go back and try to understand why anacardium has resulted into cure, why the patient was better. Bioflavonoids, along with vitamin C, most of the in Ayurvedic preparations, it acts as an antioxidant. Phenolic compounds, antioxidant, antiviral, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and bilonols are dermatological conditions. It is used in dermatological conditions. In Marathi, it is called as Biba. Earlier times, it was in everyone's home. It was like a broad spectrum medicine for any disease. And when we reflect back to why it was there, because of the properties that it is having: anxiolytic, antioxidant, antiviral, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. Okay. So if we go back and try to find out on Google Scholar, you will find that in Ayurvedic medicine, there is one paper, anxiolytic effect of anacardic acids from cashew nut, Anacardium occidental. And same thing we can find out in our homeopathic literature also. And what kind of role, antioxidant role, or what kind of marking nut seeds are having in terms of antioxidant. So there is so much of literature available on internet. The need is we should read, we should search, so that we can understand why our medicines are there. It is not because that it is written by Hahnemann or written by anybody else. We should go back and identify that which are the properties within that plant, which are the properties within that mineral, animal, etc., and why the cure has been there. I think that will definitely help us. And another important thing that I would like to reflect, these are the 3 things that I read in Homeopathy Through Harmony and Totality by Ajit Kulkarni sir. While preparing, I was looking for one-sided diseases through various literature. And I found these things very important to my case. I will read it for all of you. Interpersonal relationship is a dynamic system that changes continuously during its existence. Like living organisms, relationships also have a beginning, a lifespan, and an end. They tend to grow and improve gradually as people get to know each other and become closer emotionally, or they deteriorate as people drift apart, move on with their lives, and form new relationships. So this is normalcy. Now let's see what happens when disturbance is there. The disturbed IPR acts as a maintaining, precipitating cause of the disease, which gets manifested in the intrapsychic conflict somatization mechanism, which again may act as a stressor. Thus, the cause becomes an effect, and effect again becomes the cause. The vicious cycle is thus set up and continued. The consideration of interpersonal relationship may give a new dimension to our thinking of disease phenomena. Stressors deviating the immune responses can be better identified when one explores the IPR of the patient. Now, this exploration has definitely helped us in our case in terms of obstructing further progression of disease with suitable similimum medicine with accurate potency. Now, abnormality. In a case of one-sided disease or a disease with inadequate data, a homeopathic physician stumbles with the fear of losing the case. In such cases, IPR elicited skillfully will bring forth the personality traits as well as fish out an accurate homeopathic remedy. Interview of a patient through IPR is a very interesting aspect, as the inner state of mind and deep relationships get revealed. Keynote prescribing has been many pitfalls and demerits. Many problems need to be faced in the follow-up of a case, as keynote prescribing involves multiple, changeable, zigzag, and jumping entries resulting in utter confusion. I think when I read this, I felt that sir has purposely written for me only, so that I can use it in my presentation. The thing is that the paper is very beautiful. The whole book is very beautifully written. And again, I take up this opportunity that this book was gifted by Ajit Kulkarni sir after the last webinar on NGH. So I thank you, sir, for the gift which was utilized in the proper way in this case. So these are the references that I had taken for building up this whole case. Okay. These are the references, and all these references are available in softwares. As I had said that I use both softwares, Zomeo as well as the Radar. It is just on the click. It is not that you have to go out and search for the book that while prescribing, whether you are able to search for all these details. Okay, so this is there. Another important thing that helped me in this presentation is the recent journal of NGH that was on anxiety in January 2021. All of you can go through this. It is a beautiful journal, theme-based journal you should refer for understanding various topics. And the next thing, another thing, on our NGH online website, NGH online is the name of the portal. On that, there are case studies, and I just searched for anxiety. I got 12 cases of anxiety. So this is the quest for learning that one has to undertake, so that we can, it is not that homeopathy works, we are giving this remedy. We have to show that how it works, why it works. And for that, we have to become a lifelong learner. What our MLD sir used to say, it is a lifelong service. So for any questions, you can feel free to communicate me with this channel through WhatsApp number or email, preferably email. And before I conclude, I would like to say a Shanti Mantra for the departed homeopaths, because of whom we are enjoying what they have done. With your due permission, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 to the old departed soul. Thank you very much. This is last slide, acknowledgement. The training that I had received, education and training, which helped me to build up vision, the background of family, learners, sick individuals who continuously make me to keep alive the learner within me, National Journal of Homeopathy, the UG college from where I had done my BHMS, poster developments, the current working college, VK Homeopathic Medical College, and I am a visiting faculty at Guru Mishri Homeopathic Medical College. Again, wrestling with students has helped me to become much better day by day. It is just improvisation of what I was yesterday. And above all, my alma mater, Dr. M.L. Dhole Homeopathic Memorial Institute, because of whom I am in front of you, because of whom I am able to showcase what is possible. It is because of all these people. I am just a small piece in this. My contribution is very little. All of these things are because of them. All of them are responsible for what I had presented. And I hope I have not disappointed any one of them. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present one-sided diseases having mental aspect due to prolonged emotional factors that are there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yogesh, for this really amazing session. The case which had, a prolonged emotional causes, you showed us so much of the inventory in terms of the psychiatric assessment scale. And the one point which you mentioned, is really worth pondering is how to bring precision in prescribing. I think the point you were trying to make is that we should standardize the way we are prescribing, the way we are diagnosing, which I think is the need of the hour and which will really take homeopathy a long way. The operational area was very insightful, and the slide of yours of the frog and the horse was really a food for thought, which showed us that how perception can vary. Thank you so much. And now we move on to the Q&A session. Even Jago sir is here. Jago sir, so I will take up the first question, which is from Dr. Pallavi. Why sulfur was ruled out is her query in your case.
Okay, so in sulfur, basically, you go to see in the repertoire sheet also, the two important points of fear of darkness. See, the patient was 47 years old and he could not sleep alone in spite of other people being in the room. He had to have a light on. So that was very peculiar, uncommon, or a rare symptom, which is very important, and it is not covered up by sulfur in itself. And all the other dimensions of the case, like the sector totality also, or the chief complaints also, I think so it definitely doesn't fall under the sulfur category. Okay, that is why it was not ruled. I mean, that is why it was ruled out, and phosphorus was given much more importance to.
Thank you, sir.
Most of the
There
things.
is one more question by Dr. Samina, that only 2 doses of phosphorus 200 or phosphorus 1M cured the case.
In both the instances, one dose was given, phosphorus 200 one dose, and also phosphorus 1M 1 dose was given.
All right. So there's one more question by Dr. Sheikh, that how you had the judgment like about the patient's susceptibility.
Well, that's a very long topic. I've already replied to her personally, saying that there are 7 points on which susceptibility has to be taken into consideration. You just can't take it on one factor. You take factors and take the summation of these factors. So, I mean, I've explained to her in a personal statement.
Even she had written to me in a personal chat, so I was wondering whether you've seen that question or not. Then Dr. Krishna was there, who was really thank you immensely for the knowledge you imparted today. Dr. Yogesh, if you are ready, there are 2-3 questions for you as well. Dr. Rajendra has asked you that anacardium you had given 200 daily or 1 dose or like 1 in the night, or how was the entire posology for that?
Okay. I will show the slide itself, so those who have not seen it, they can be seen. It can be seen properly. Anacardium 200, initially first dose was given, and then I will show the slide itself. Single dose was given for 3 weeks, weekly 1 dose, then 203 packet HS for 2 weeks, and then SL was given. So total 6, and these 3, total 9 doses were given.
Thank you, doctor. Then there is one question which I think both the speakers can answer. Dr. Jayashree has asked, are all mental diseases one-sided diseases?
So we have to understand few symptoms, diseases that are having few symptoms, and what kind of expression they are having, whether it is a somatic expression or psychosomatic expression. Then we can classify into whether it is a mental or physical one. So no, it is not that all, because at that time we get other characteristic data also. So all mental diseases are not one-sided diseases. We find expression at different levels.
So you would like to add something, Dr. Chakos?
Basically, it will depend upon the susceptibility of the case, right or not? If the susceptibility is quite strong and if no suppression has taken place, the expressions would be characteristic in nature. And as Dr. Yogesh has correctly said, it depends upon the different levels at which the expressions are given. So not necessarily all the cases will be, all mental cases will be one-sided. It depends upon the expression. If you're getting good, uncommon, peculiar, characteristic, rare, queer, stray symptoms, you can definitely prescribe on. It doesn't fall into the category of one-sided. See, it depends upon what treatment has taken and what is the effect on the treatment on the person and how he is exhibiting the symptoms.
I think that is all the question and answers we had tonight. And Dr. Shobha has written that maybe the further ones we can they can ask in our Telegram group, and then we can answer this thing. Thank you so much, both the speakers, for today's session. It was really insightful.